all these young ladies that are here for Sister Cities to stand up for just a moment? Good sight. I love it. As the mama of two boys, it's always important to recognize our young men, but I'm especially proud to see this diverse group of young women representing Sister Cities here today, so you're welcome. And with that, I'll call the meeting to order.
Today's invocation will be by Father Andrew Powell from St. Timothy's Church. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance to the U.S. and the state of Texas flag.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, you sent your Son among us to proclaim the kingdom of God in cities, towns, and villages. Behold and visit, we pray, our community of Fort Worth. Renew the bonds of charity that uphold our civic life. Deliver us from poverty, prejudice, and oppression, that peace may prevail with righteousness and justice with mercy. So guide and bless our mayor and city council here assembled, that they may enact laws pleasing in your sight to the glory of your name and the welfare of our people, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Items to be withdrawn from the consent agenda.
Yes, thank you. Let me get this. We have a number to withdraw from the consent agenda due to speakers. The first one is MNC 22-0134, and then MNC 22-0159, MNC 22-0164, and then MNC 22-0169, and then we also have MNC 22-0171 to withdraw from the consent agenda.
Items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
There are no items to be continued or withdrawn by staff.
Consideration of the consent agenda as amended.
Council, perfect. Got a motion from Councilmember Moon. And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next is MMC 22-1034. Approve Reserve Officer Brett Mills' appointment to serve on this as a supplemental capacity for the police department.
We have one speaker this evening, Noah Drever. Is Noah here? No. Okay, there are no other speakers on this item. Receipt, I've got a motion from Carrie Moon, a second from Michael Crane. Any other discussion? Please vote. There's nothing. Oh. Motion carries.
Next item is MMC 22-0159. Adopt attached resolution authorizing the city's petition for a temporary injunction against Voss Enterprise, Inc., seeking a temporary right-of-way entry to conduct due diligence in anticipation of the South Cravens Road Culvert Improvement Project.
We have one speaker this evening, Bob Willoughby.
Hi, my name's Bob Willoughby. I didn't know if anybody else was speaking in opposition to this, so if no one don't have a problem with it, then I don't. Anytime I see an injunction by the city, it sounds like the owner of the property is not exactly agreeing, so maybe I sign up for that. But also, since I have a little bit of time left, like the neighborhood association, if we have the same as they do, I would like to compliment something the police did, if I have a minute to say that. Do I have a minute to say something that the police did I thought was really great? You let the neighborhood association go off track. I have it on tape, and it was okay with them when they were complimenting you.
Go ahead, Bob.
Thank you. Now you got me off track. Okay. No, what it is for our police is that when anything bad happens, it's magnified to unbelief levels. But when they do good things all day long, which we probably don't see or ever hear about, and we do hear about, we don't get to know about it, you know. And an incident happened across the street from me. In the middle of the night, or late at night, a man broke through the window, went into the house. I'm gonna try to cut it short to get to the point. It's pitch dark, it's freezing cold out there. I mean, I had to go back in and get a jacket, but anyway, it started with my neighbor on the right calling me and saying he saw someone run to the house across the street. I looked out and I saw the squad car come down the street. A helicopter was flying around too. I went out, but I grabbed a jacket and I went out. By the time I went out, the officer had done left the car. It's pitch dark. It's very dangerous out there, pitch dark. He didn't wait for backup or anything. He done left that car and headed right in there. And it would have been easy for someone to hurt this officer easily, you know, but he went in. And time's important. When you need someone, you want them there right away. Anyway, I was by his car. His door was open. My neighbor came out. Then he came back out. The officer did. I had to go back in and get clothes. I don't know if there's such thing as a frozen stroke, but I was going to have one. So I got more clothes on. By the time I came back out, there was more officers there, and they had brought the man out of the house. The neighbors were outside. The young couple were freezing. I went and got them a blanket. But anyway, they called him and took him in. But what the officer did was great, and I'm sure they do this stuff all day long, but it's never mentioned. And the sad thing is, with you taking our presentation away to speak at night, I couldn't speak tonight. We're not on the public presentation anymore, like other cities. Thank you.
A second. Thank you. Second from Carrie Moon. And any other discussion, council? Please vote.
Next item is MMC 22-0171. Okay, MMC 22-0164, authorize the purchase of a Bearcat armored tactical vehicle from Lenco Industries, funded by the Urban Area Security Initiative grant from the U.S. Department of Homeland Security, using a cooperative contract for the police department through property management.
We've got one speaker, Thomas Terlincasi.
Mayor Parker, council members, fellow citizens and neighbors, across the country, in metro areas our size and communities much smaller than ours, they're rethinking the police. The police are a vital part of our community and we need them. But in plenty of communities across the country, they've already considered demilitarizing the police, not ramping up the militarization of the police. The Bearcat, as characterized in this particular thing, is different than the Aledo Bearcats, which is the city that our police chief lives in. This Bearcat is literally a military vehicle. And our council tends to chase money for all kinds of things outside of the budget and even outside of the police incentive program that will be about $130 million this year. One of my questions is, did you run this by the police monitor or the paid police commission? Because I guarantee you that if you had formed an independent police oversight committee like hundreds of thousands of citizens have asked for, they would at least have input on this specific outlay and this specific acquisition. If you want to know why we continue to have a disconnect between the public, the people, and the police and government, it is things like militarizing the police. It is things like taking money for the roadside civilian forfeiture program and a number of other things that this council has voted in favor of, although sometimes the vote is 5-4. There is no rush to get another vehicle that is literally a military vehicle in the hands of our police.
Okay, there we go. Can I get a motion, council? Go ahead, Carrie.
All right. I want to speak specifically to this item. Fort Worth, as a city, has chosen to fund police. Fort Worth, as a mayor and council, has done tremendous work in community policing since 2018. We've banned chokeholds. We've added diversity recruitment of our officers. We've added crime prevention programs, crisis intervention teams, HOPE teams, numerous things that other cities have no merit to back up what we've done. At the same time, we see a high rate of murdered and aggravated assaults. 80% of those victims are people of color. And we as a city, the best thing to do to say, do we want to fund police or not? We went to a public vote in July of 2020, just a few months after George Floyd. And that vote passed 65% to 30% to fund police. We've hired a police monitor. We've provided them a budget. We've added the diversity department. We authorize a certain budget, and we hire department heads. We hire a city manager who hires the department heads to give those department heads the discretion to purchase the things that they need to do. And we've also spent a lot of money on non-lethal weapons, in addition to things of this type of vehicle. So with that, please be proud of the record that Fort Worth has, this mayor and council, and also the city of Fort Worth in choosing to fund police. With that, I make a motion to approve.
Got a second from Councilmember Crane. Any other discussion, council? Councilmember Nettles?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Thomas. And I will like to say, first, start out, we do support the police department in every effort, and we want to make sure that they have all the equipment that they need to fight crime. I don't think this per se purchase determines whether we support the police or not. We already have 2 Bearcats, or whatever it's called. I don't think we need a third one. I understand one is old, but our money can be used for more better reasons than this. I do believe that the city of Fort Worth has not done enough as it needs to do as it relates to diversity, as it relates to Citizens Oversight Review Board, as it relates to police relations. However, I do believe that we are going to get there eventually. And so today, my vote will not support adding a purchase of this Bearcat armor. I don't think that vote says to people that I don't support the police, but what it says is that we can use our money in other places than this. So today, I will not support this purchase.
Thank you, Councilmember Nettles. Any other discussion, council? If there's no other discussion, I may just point out that this is actually funded by a U.S. Department of Homeland Security grant in cooperation with the Fort Worth Police Department. So this is an excellent relationship we have with our federal partners. With that, council, we can vote. Wait for... Motion carries.
Item MMC 22-0169, authorize execution of a contract with Violence Intervention Program Fort Worth for the operation of the Violence Intervention Program for fiscal year 2022.
We have one speaker, Raymond Fogg Jr. Is Raymond here? No, it's crowded. Raymond Fogg Jr. We don't have anybody waiting outside, do we? No? With that, motion, council? And a second? Can I get a second, council? Perfect. Thank you from Leonard. Okay. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Item MMC 22-0171, repeal appropriation ordinances number 25298-01-2022 and 25297-01-2022. Adopt attached appropriation ordinances to increase receipt and appropriations in the grant operating federal fund and authorize transfer of funds from the Justice Asset Forfeiture Fund for the city's match requirement.
This was pulled out at the request of Councilmember Beck, so I'll turn to Elizabeth for a few remarks.
Thanks, I appreciate that. Again, with our last, civil asset forfeiture vote, I'll be voting no against this particular item, not because I don't believe that our traffic safety grant isn't important or that we don't need to keep folks safe on the street, but because I truly believe that we should be doing something different with our civil asset forfeiture funds. I think they should go back into the communities that they harmed, and so for that reason, I will be voting no on this particular item. Thank you.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Councilmember Moon?
Just want to speak towards asset forfeitures. We're going to see a lot of these come up where we have the opportunity to redeploy those dollars into the community as suggested. The Internal Audit Committee, we've identified $700,000 that was listed as restricted assets that was not restricted, that we've made available to police. We uncovered $300,000 that was escheated to the state in error that we are recovering. And we have the opportunity to redeploy those dollars with matching grants. That's a win for our city and for our police. So with that, I will be supporting this request from our police.
Thank you, Councilmember. Any other discussion, council? If that, I can have a motion and a second. Thank you, Michael. Any other? Thank you. Second, any other discussion? Please vote. You got Gina's abstention. Motion carries.
Next are special presentations and introductions. The first presentation is by the Fort Worth City Sisters in administration of citizen diplomat oath to student ambassadors.
Oh, there is Becky Renfro-Barbola coming to the microphone. Thank you for being here, Becky, as chairwoman of Sister Cities International for Fort Worth. We're incredibly proud to have these young people with us this evening. I'll turn the floor over to you.
Mayor Parker and council members, thank you for having us this evening and for recognizing the importance of global connections for Fort Worth. We have 51 student ambassadors traveling to France, Germany, Hungary, Italy, Japan, and Mexico this year to represent Fort Worth to the world. Mayor Parker, may I invite you to come and administer the citizen's oath to the students and delegation leaders.
Absolutely, and I think I was asked to stay here so y'all can all see me really well and they can see at home too for those watching. So everybody, I guess raise your right hand. That sounds more official, yes? I like it. Okay. Say, I state your name. Have the opportunity and responsibility to improve relations between the United States and the rest of the world. I am a citizen diplomat. Appointed by Mayor Parker and the Fort Worth City Council. And the Fort Worth Sister Cities Program. I am committed to do this for my city. My country. And my world. Let this be so. Congratulations to each of you.
Thank you for your continued support.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for being here this evening. And to families back there. That's fine. Oh, absolutely.
Our next presentation will be a presentation of certificate of recognition for the Alpha Theta Sigma 83rd chartering anniversary.
Evening to the men of Phi Beta Sigma. As you saw, I just got here, so I'm going to read the recognition from here, and I'll come down with your official plaque. Alpha Theta Sigma, the Fort Worth graduate chapter of Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated, was chartered on March 4th, 1939. Alpha Theta Sigma members work for the benefit of the greater Fort Worth community through the fraternity's programs of which include education, social action, and bigger and better business, serving the needs of local schools, businesses, and the community at large. Alpha Theta Sigma has donated funds and provided in-person support to area organizations such as the Fort Worth Independent School District, Tarrant Area Food Bank, Macedonia Missionary Baptist Church, Crowley Independent School District, and more. Alpha Theta Sigma is involved in a variety of projects such as Coast for Kids, C.Y. Thomas Memorial Scholarship Golf Tournament, the NAACP, and the Fort Worth Metropolitan Black Chamber of Commerce, and also you guys have sponsored the Tuskegee Airmen. Additionally, ATS supports national programs such as Boy Scouts of America, March of Dimes, and American Cancer Society, in addition to ATS's involvement in other service and civic activities. The members of Alpha Theta Sigma aim to live the Sigma motto, which is culture for service and service for humanity. The fraternity has shown for the past 83 years that it is a significant asset to the community, providing leadership and funding projects that have greatly benefited the area and its residents. We thank them for their hard work, contributions, and dedication to the community and congratulate them on their 83rd chartering anniversary. This certificate is presented to the men of Alpha Theta Sigma, and when I attended North Texas State, we just called y'all smooth.
Gene, I think you owe us a few pictures of this in college, right?
Just want to thank Mayor and Council, specifically Mayor Pro Tem Bivens, for recognizing the fraternity service to this great community. I want to thank the members who've served the community for 83 years and just a few of the members who are here today.
who are continuing to serve the community. So thank you, and I'm also a city employee, so I get to serve the community even on my personal time. So thank you so
Excellent.
much.
Thank y'all very much for coming tonight. We appreciate you.
Next are announcements by city council members and staff, including upcoming and recent events, recognition of citizens, and approval of ceremonial travel if needed.
First up is Councilmember Flores.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, short slide show presentation today. You'll see some slides from Engineers Week. We celebrated that with the Texas Society of Professional Engineers, DFW chapter, and Mid-Cities chapter for their annual celebration. Finally got together after break to COVID. So I was a keynote speaker, talked about my engineering background, as well as the path ahead for the City of Fort Worth's development and infrastructure. So it was my honor to address them. They're very gracious, and also thank you to them sincerely for presenting me with a recognition plaque. Next slide, please. All right, and then March 2nd was Texas Independence Day, and there's a tradition there in the stockyards where we all get together on the steps of either the Coliseum or the Livestock Exchange Building, and it was my honor to read the Texas Independence Declaration, the short version, because the long version would have taken too much time. But, you know, it's important to recognize what our Texas traditions are rooted on, you know, our independent spirit, and that's embodied by the blended cultures that salute, you know, our background: Indigenous, Spanish, French, Mexican, Texan, European, Asian, and American origins. And again, those are our roots, those are our proud roots, and as a Texan, very proud to celebrate those. And there you see in the middle photo some of the Texas Western legend reenactors who were firing rounds through their muskets. It's added, you know, great appeal to the celebration. So thanks for everyone that was there. And on the other side, they were taking a picture with the Queen of North Texas High School Rodeo Association, Savannah Meisner. So thanks, everybody. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Carlos. Now to Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Thank you, Mayor. Is that the video, Melissa? I want you guys to hear this sound. Just listen to this beautiful sound. Boy, I woke up early Monday morning to go watch a demolition. And that demolition, for people on the east side know, that was the house on Canton. The house on Canton had an elderly, wheelchair-bound resident, but she also had a number of visitors. I see Judy. Hey, Judy, the Handley Neighborhood President. The visitors were people who didn't have much regard for the law. And so I'm so proud that city staff worked with the family of the lady, and we were able to get her into permanent supportive housing, where life is much better now. And we told the unwelcome guests, I'm not going to call them criminals, wink, wink, but we suggested they go on somewhere else. And so is Mike Phipps here tonight? Mike told me about this in 2013 when I took office. He had been waging this battle to get that house done as far back as 2006. And what had happened, I have to thank city legal staff because I urged them to be creative and be aggressive. And when they did, Chris Mosley took the guns off and bye-bye, bad house, bad people, new life for the lady who was there. So that was good news. And that's what it looked like. And Chris, I couldn't open your photo, but it just looks like peaceful parkland now. I'll put that on, just wonderful, so thank you. And for those of you who know the east side, this is Canton near Golden Chick, which is Judy Taylor's other office. And now we'll go to, now we had a big turnout Saturday to talk about construction coming to Trinity Boulevard. Anybody know where Trinity is? It's the shortcut to the airport if you're on the east side. Well, we've got more construction coming for Trinity Boulevard. I think we had about 75 people there, and people weren't real happy to know that they've got maybe up to 3 years of construction, but they left understanding with the promise that any unanswered questions, we'd deal with those later. And so you can go to the next picture. It's just a real good crowd, and I want to thank staff for putting that out. And Wednesday, if you got my nauseating robocall, there is a meeting tomorrow to talk about construction on Randall Mill near Williams. If you don't know the details about that, as you see, I just got here, so I don't have the address. But it's a virtual meeting. If you email me or call my office, I'll give you the sign-in code so that you can attend that virtual meeting talking about some construction on Randall Mill near Williams. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Gina. I believe next to Leonard Firestone.
There we go. Thank you, Mayor. Just two real quick announcements. Basketball is here in town. The NCAA men's basketball first and second rounds will be here March 17th through the 19th. Great to see March Madness at Dickies. And then also the 2022 NCAA Women's National Gymnastics will be at Dickies on April 14th through the 16th. So we're excited about that as well. For tickets, go to dickiesarena.com. Secondly, this is going to be a fun deal. Streams and Valleys is hosting the trail run at Eagle Mountain Park on April 23rd, and that's from 9 to 11. The event includes a 2-mile hike or a 5-mile run, some live music, pancakes, mimosas, coffee, and an event mug. The only catch is you have to pre-register and to participate, so please do that at streamsandvalleys.org. Okay, thanks so much.
Thank you, Leonard. Chris Nettles.
Check. All right, on Wednesday, April the 20th, 22 at 6 p.m., we will have our May bond election meeting. Last night, I was in Holland Hills with a town hall, and there were people interested in the bond election. So if you are in District 8 or the surrounding neighborhoods, you're welcome to come. If you're just a resident of City of Fort Worth, you're welcome to come. We'll be at the McDonald YMCA talking about the bond election that's coming up in May. We need your support, and we need to hear from you. Next slide, please. I will be in United Riverside Neighborhood Association Town Hall meeting, as well as on tomorrow. They're excited about coming. They actually normally have their meetings on Tuesday night while I'm in council. And so this is going to be a special meeting, and we're inviting all the local neighborhoods to come. We'll be talking about the dreaded redistricting. And other things we'll be talking about. And so you're welcome to come to that as well. So we'll see you there. Here's the Holland Hills Town Hall. Thank you for all the city staff that came, chief, the fire chief, and department heads. It was certainly a doozy, but Holland Hills feel like they have not been heard, but we did hear them last night, and we got some great things that's coming to that neighborhood. And I believe that's it. That's me talking to the community. Next slide. That's it. Thank you.
Elizabeth Beck.
So first up, we cut the ribbon on a brand-new library located in La Grande Plaza. So we had mariachi there, members of our community, the Hispanic Chamber. It was a really great event. And so big thanks to the library for making that happen and bringing the library closer to the community. Next slide. A big, exciting news for District 9 in our medical district. Mayor Parker, I was able to join Mayor Parker at the TCU Medical School announcement. If you have not heard, they are expanding into the near south side and will be building their new medical school campus right in the heart of the medical district. So we're pretty excited about that. Next slide. Coming up, if you remember, we've got a pool that we're redoing as part of the bond package, and we are soliciting public feedback on what type of amenities and programming you would like to see at the pool. So I'd invite everybody to come out on the 10th. It is at the Botanic Gardens. Next slide. As we've all mentioned, we are doing a round of meetings for the bond election. The District 9 meeting will be held Monday, April 4th at the Worth Heights Community Center, and I invite you all to attend. Next slide. You've heard a lot of buzz about the 3 bridges and the community's opportunity to name them, and so I just would like to remind you that that deadline is March 31st to get in your names for the new bridges that connect downtown to Northside. And that's it.
Thanks, Elizabeth. Did I miss anybody that needed to speak? That's the list I had. Okay, that's the last of the council presentations.
Next are the resolutions. Resolution 22-2078, a resolution to authorize initiation of rezoning for a property on Canyon Creek Trail in Timberview Court in the east side of Fort Worth in accordance with the comprehensive plan.
Council, looks like I need a motion and a second. No, we're going to present first. Are we presenting anything first on this or no? Comp plan? No. Is that your next item, Melissa? Okay, thank you. Motion and a second. Sorry, council. Motion, anybody? Thank you, Chris. Second from Michael. We've had a long day, y'all. Please vote. Motion passes.
22-2079, a resolution authorizing the city attorney to retain outside legal counsel to represent the city on a contingent fee basis for the collection of unpaid franchise fees and authorizing the filing of a lawsuit titled City of Fort Worth versus Netflix, Inc. in federal district court.
We have one speaker, Thomas Turlin-Cassi.
Mayor Parker, council members, neighbors, and taxpayers. I wanted to comment on the possibility and the pending litigation that you're going to vote on in a moment. Point out to those in the audience that 3 of our council members are attorneys, and certainly in law school, you were taught that a reasonable and prudent person does everything in their power to negotiate or settle and avoid litigation. I want to make a couple of examples parallel to the city's consideration to capture every revenue stream possible. I realize that Netflix and some of the other entities that you might consider in the et al. Part of your lawsuit have deep pockets and can turn to us taxpayers and property owners and collect the fees that you will then be passed along as fees or taxes. You remember last week, a woman named Nissy Nelson came and spoke. She actually spoke in support of, I believe, Officer Rogers. Well, she just was granted a broadband channel, and it will be based right here in Fort Worth. So my first question is, are you going to sue her too? She just started selling subscriptions. One of the things that is concurrently happening and every time I stand up and speak is imaging and optics, and what the council and our city looks like every time we make a decision that may not have been thought through completely. The reality is that you could lay off of the lawsuit, and the lawsuit's going to happen, and let other entities take on these big corporations and try to chase that money. But picture, if you will, that in addition to our broadband platform that's distributed fairly evenly throughout the city, we have a whole distributed network of libraries. In those libraries are hundreds, if not thousands, of books and documents and publications printed and produced by publishing companies. Every time someone checks out one of those books, should they pay a fee because their book is placed in all their libraries? At what point are we feeing and taxing information, educational opportunities, community engagement, and every other form of entertainment or art that is provided in our broadband? There are a lot of ways for cities to collect revenues, and this city goes after every new revenue stream possible. I'm going to give you my last best example. TRWD had the gall to sue the state of Oklahoma and took it all the way to the United States Supreme Court, where they lost 9-0. It cost $6 million. Do you know who those taxpayers were who paid that $6 million? Fort Worth residents.
I'm gonna give you a motion. Okay. Before I move to approve this, I want to address some of the comments that we heard tonight. I am one of those attorneys on council, and it is not always the case that you do everything in your power to settle without litigation. The court system was set up so that publicly, because all court records are public documents, our grievances can be aired before the people. Sometimes it requires taking a case to litigation to fully redress the wrongs that have been committed. And while I completely agree that settling can sometimes be more cost-effective, there's a reason they call it settling and not getting everything you want or being completely made whole. And so we, at the City of Fort Worth, have a responsibility to our taxpayers. And that is to go after what we believe are streams of revenue that are owed to us as a city. And as we do that, as we have the ability to capture those, that means that we can provide better services or that we could potentially lower the tax rate. And so I think it would be negligent of us as a city council to allow this money to stay on the table because it harms our residents in the end. There is a risk associated with taking anything to trial or to bring forth any particular litigation. It's a risk I'm willing to take for our taxpayers. And so with that, I move to approve.
Motion passes.
Resolution 22-2080, a resolution authorizing dedication of 3 acres of parkland within the North Z Boaz Park as natural area and open space.
Motion from Councilmember Crane. And a second from Councilmember Flores. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next is a public hearing, MMC 22-0137, conduct a public hearing on the proposed City of Fort Worth 2022 Comprehensive Plan and adopt ordinance approving the City of Fort Worth 2022 Comprehensive Plan. Report by City Staff Eric Flagager.
Come on down, Eric.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is Eric Flanagan. I'm with the Planning and Data Analytics Department, and I'm here to present the 2022 Comprehensive Plan for your consideration. So the Comprehensive Plan is the city's general guide for making decisions about growth and development in the city of Fort Worth. It presents a broad vision for Fort Worth's future and describes the major policies, programs, and projects that will help us realize that vision. We follow a cycle of planning similar to what we do with the creation of the budget. This timeline is a little behind that in order to help inform the budget process. We start with some draft plan amendments. We go through some opportunities for some public engagement. We take it to the City Plan Commission as a public hearing and then on to City Council. So we've spun around the circle and are ready to consider adoption of the 2022 Comprehensive Plan today. So just to go through a few of the amendments that we're proposing, this is the table of contents of the Comprehensive Plan before you. Those red items are the ones that we have modified. We've completely updated those chapters. And these chapters in particular were last updated in their entirety in 2012. So it's been 10 years. We've done some very significant changes to these, and this is what's before you today, the entirety and focusing on those new chapters. I'm going to give you just a little bit, a taste of those. So the trend chapters population, economic, financial trends. That's sort of the statistical underpinnings of the comprehensive plan. Tells us where we're going in the future and lets us plan for that. These new chapters include some of the same material in terms of format that our existing chapters do. One of those is the quick facts page. So this is an example of that. This particular one is for municipal facilities. And what we do with the quick facts pages is we provide some of the sort of what are the most important questions that folks ask about that topic and provide you with some very quick pieces of information to address some of those questions. So another chapter page is from Arts and Culture, and this is describing a couple of the cultural districts we have in the city, in this case, Cultural District and Downtown. We contain links, and that's what these purple bluish buttons are. If you click on those, that actually takes you to the document or to a different source that'll get you much more detail regarding that particular topic. So the comprehensive plan itself contains a lot of information, but links you to a tremendous amount of resources. This is the public health chapter, just an example page from that, focusing on obesity and related health conditions. Again, using graphics, using a lot of detail in a graphic form to make it easier to understand, easier to absorb and to use. This page is from municipal facilities. This is regarding the new city hall. You'll recognize the image on the right here. This is the stacking diagram for the city's new city hall and some information about that. The development regulations chapter is another one we've updated this year in its entirety. This page focusing on urban design districts, and again, that graphic representation of the location of districts and information in a visual form about what those districts contain. Another example from intergovernmental cooperation chapter, this one focused on counties. Again, that button there that links you to, in this case, the full development regulations chapter, and information about the counties and about the how we relate to them as a city. Appendix A, the appendices of the comprehensive plan contain a lot of the information that sort of is rubber hits the road material for actual decision-making process. The Appendix A contains the existing plan, so council adopts a lot of plans, a lot of studies over a period of time. They're contained in the comprehensive plan because they are incorporated by reference. And what we've done with Appendix A is to provide a very short description of what each of those plans contain. And then again, those button links, you click on that, it'll take you to that particular plan. Appendix C, future land use. So this is the city's future land use plan, looking out 20 years, the location, the types of development, the types of land use that we anticipate. This is just one example of a specific planning sector. There's 16 of those in the city. This is Arlington Heights. And in addition to the map itself, which depicts in color-coded fashion the actual land uses that we're planning for the next 20 years, there's a series of sector land use policies. So these land use policies relate specifically to that area. And in Appendix C, that map that I showed you is one of many. They compile into a larger map of the city. But this is a blown-up version. Just wanted to share a few significant changes that we're identifying. We typically make some amendments to the plan. In some cases, those will be a pretty significant list. They're just reflecting approved zoning cases. So cases that you have approved as a council that were inconsistent with the existing future land use designations, we will go back and amend those after the fact in order to keep that consistency so the future land use plan continues to guide zoning case decisions in the future. So in this particular case, Tejas Trails off Silver Creek, this is a change from mixed use, which is that hot pink color you see there in the center of the map. The map on the right is depicting the proposed future land use designations. So we have mixed use again, but we've also got some suburban residential. In this case, based on concerns expressed by Tejas Trails and some significant discussions with that group. We've created essentially a buffer between the more high-intensity uses that are allowed under that future land use designation and their own residential district. So in this case, this is actually nearby. This is in relation to a zoning case that was approved by City Council. And what we are amending in the future land use map is changing that property from single-family residential primarily, and then to light industrial in its entirety. So this is supporting a majestic development proposal for light industrial warehouse-type uses. Another example, this is District 7, Casino Beach. You've received an informal report already on this particular change. This is changing city-owned property adjacent to Lake Worth and Highway 199 from general commercial to public park recreation open space to allow that to be used at a lower intensity focused on light impact recreational uses. And then in District 3 and the ETJ as well, Walsh Ranch, Dean Ranch, and Veal Ranch concept plans. They've modified their concept plans and they're moving towards development. We wanted to accommodate that in the future land use and reflect those plan changes. So a significant number of future land use designations initially, and then we're adding even more to that in the proposed version. So Appendix D contains capital improvements. So not only the 5-year capital improvement plan being implemented in the, moving forward from 2022 to 2026, we provide the actual plan adoption in that location and then describe it in a graphic, very condensed form, which is what you're seeing on your screen. Appendix F is annexation policy and program. So modifications that are being made to the annexation program related to timing typically and type of annexation that's anticipated in the future is what's contained here. So the schedule, we've gone through our entire process. We're here before you today to request consideration of adoption of the comprehensive plan.
Thank you, Eric. Council members, any questions for Eric? If not, then it looks like we can close the public hearing and act on the M&C. Oh, I'm so sorry, we do. Raymond Fogg Jr.? I don't think Raymond's here. Okay. Then we will close public hearing and act on the M&C. Councilmember Moon?
Motion to close the public hearing and approve.
Thank you. Second. Thank you, Michael. Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
Next are the zoning items, ZC-21-211, 2100 and 2120 West Rosedale Street, 1005 Jerome Street, from G Intensive Commercial to NS-T5 near South Side Urban Center, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission, continued from a previous meeting.
I'll turn to Councilmember Beck for a motion and discussion.
Nope, now I am. This particular item has been withdrawn by the applicant, and so I will move to deny without prejudice.
Thanks, Elizabeth. And a second, council? Thank you, Chris. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
ZC-21-197, 1550 Everman Parkway and 1801 Oak Grove, from E Neighborhood Commercial to D High-Density Multifamily, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission, continued from a previous meeting.
Councilmember Nettles, I'll turn to you for a motion. Sorry. I don't have, there it is. Audra Buckley.
Hi, Audra Buckley, 1414 Bellevue Street, Dallas, Texas 75215, representing the property owner and the applicant in this case. Just here to ask the council member if he would grant a continuance so that we can continue to work on the design, and he's also found a group for us to meet with. So we'd like to have the opportunity to do that. Thank you.
Thank
Councilmember
you.
Nettles.
Yes, so thank you for coming. So I am going to motion to continue this case to the next zoning case in April. Not sure what day that is. Carrie, we're working on some things. So we can get the design and they can speak with the neighborhood. So that's my motion.
Any discussion, council? Please vote. Motion passes.
ZC-21-218, 1616 and 1620 East Rosedale from A-5, one family E neighborhood commercial to E neighborhood commercial, recommended for denial with prejudice by the zoning commission, continued from a previous meeting.
Councilmember Nettles for a motion.
Yes, my motion tonight is to remand this case back to the zoning commission.
Thank you. And I'm going to get a second. Second. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes.
ZC-22-011, 4337 Coleman Avenue from A-5, one family to A-5/HC, one family with historic and cultural landmark overlay, recommended for approval by the Historic and Cultural Landmarks Commission.
Councilmember Firestone.
I'd like to move to approve.
And a second. Thank you, Michael. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
ZC-22-014, adopt an ordinance amending the zoning ordinance to amend Chapter 5, Supplemental Use Standards, Article 1, Standards for Selected Uses, Section 5.116A, Home Occupation, to allow outdoor activities as a home occupation and add regulations for outdoor activities, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
We have one speaker this evening, Janet Melton, but only if there is opposition, which to my knowledge there is none. Thank you, Janet. Council, can I get a motion and a second?
I have.
Go ahead.
Move to approve.
Okay.
But I have some comments first.
Okay,
Can I
go
make that? Ms. Melton, thanks for coming tonight. I appreciate it. I wanted to say a few things. In light of the pandemic, I wrote these down, so I made sure I got them correct. But in light of the pandemic, we saw more and more people working from home. That caused many of our citizens to adjust how and where they do business. Many of our citizens at this point have not gone back to an office, or they've made changes to their career and their life so they're able to work from home. When it was brought to my attention last year that our home occupation ordinance as written prevented certain activities from being performed, and I thought it wise to take another look at our ordinance. And I did that, asked for that reevaluation days after I was sworn into office. When it was pointed out to me that one such profession, the delivery of basic swim lessons in a neighbor's backyard pool was prevented, then I thought it imperative we do what we can to ensure that every child, all of our children of our city, have reliable and accessible drowning prevention education. Drowning prevention education is a passion project for our own fire chief. It is encouraged from an early age by trusted local and national medical professionals and facilities, and something every parent who has lost a child senselessly to preventable drowning screams from the rooftops. As a father, it was a priority for my wife and I to ensure our daughters knew how to swim from an early age. It just makes good sense. I've often said that my number one job as a city councilman and our greatest task as a city council is to keep our citizens safe. We must help our most helpless. We must protect our most vulnerable whenever and wherever we have that opportunity. I view the changes to the ordinance today as a win-win. We are protecting the integrity of neighborhoods while at the same time providing the citizens of Fort Worth some flexibility on how and where their work is done. I don't take changing our city ordinances lightly, nor do I believe in over-regulating when the market can provide the necessary balance. However, when there is a greater public policy we should address as a city, such as drowning prevention, then I will wholeheartedly fight to do that every single day, because our citizens deserve it. I'd like to give special thanks to legal Melinda Ramos for looking at this, for Brandon Bennett and code staff for their diligence, and also Councilwoman Beck for her suggestions to make this ordinance more business and neighborhood friendly. And with that, I enthusiastically move to approve ZC 22014.
Thank you, Councilmember Crane. Councilmember Flores, is it a second or any other discussion? Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion passes. Thank you, Janet.
ZC-22-009, 4329 East Rosedale Street from A-5/SS One Family Stop 6 Overlay to E-/SS Neighborhood Commercial Stop 6 Overlay, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Mayor Pro Tem Bivens?
Are there any speakers?
No, ma'am.
Is the applicant in attendance? Okay. You should know that the members of the Historic Stop 6 Neighborhood Association are very concerned with your other business. I think it's truck salvage. I'm going to continue this case until April 12th to give you time to talk to them. You may have met Pastor Michael Moore. If you want to say something, you should come to the microphone, and you'll have to give us your name, address, what have you.
Good evening. My name is Hernan Quintero. I am on behalf of my brother Martin, who owned the property. We just came for the meeting for the 4329 tonight. I guess we have a meeting for tomorrow.
Yes, you do.
So
and
that's the one that you're moving to April?
Yes. No, we're moving this to April. That way we'll have both your cases at the same time. But I'm giving you time to talk to the Neighborhood Association president.
Okay, we will do that.
Okay.
Okay, so we will see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Council, I move to continue to April 12th.
Thank you, Gina. Can I get a second, council? Then from Jared Williams, thank you. Any other discussion? Please vote.
ZC-22-006, 5917 Shelton Street from A-21, One Family to CF Community Facilities, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Councilmember Moon?
Move to approve.
Second, thank you, Michael. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion passes.
ZC-22-004, 4501 West Freeway, I-30, from A-5 One Family to CF Community Facilities, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Elizabeth. Second, and a motion and a second. Please vote. Motion passes.
ZC-22-003, 2501 Northwest Loop, 820 Freeway, to add conditional use permit to allow a self-serve car wash facility in E Neighborhood Commercial with waiver to the location of accessory uses in the front yard. Site plan included, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Got a motion from Councilmember Flores. Oh, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm way off today. Michael Thomas is a call.
Mr. Thomas,
Yes,
please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
ma'am.
You have 3 minutes. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. This is Mickey Thomas. I'm with MJ Thomas Engineering. I'm the civil engineer for the new car wash that we're proposing over Marine Creek and Loop 820. We have addressed city staff comments on the site plan, and we are requesting the waivers as mentioned by staff in the staff report. We have reached out to the neighborhood associations via phone several times. I did not hear back from them. Last week we were contacted by Councilman Flores' office that there was concern with the neighborhood association. We did send out emails to them as well as all the notices that were sent during the zoning meeting. And we did hear back from Northwest Alliance today, and they do have some concerns, and we're willing to meet and hear their concerns with them. Our client is obviously, a little concerned because the notices were sent out in January to all these neighborhood associations, and it was approved at zoning, and at no point have we heard any concerns from any of the neighborhood associations. But we are here to answer any questions, and we are willing to work with staff and the adjacent neighborhood associations as needed.
Thank you, Mr. Thomas. I can turn to Councilmember Flores. Actually, Councilmember Crane first. Go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, in abundance of caution, I'm going to recuse myself from this vote. I have filed the appropriate paperwork with the city secretary's office.
Thank you, Michael. Councilmember Flores.
All right. Thank you, Mayor. Having heard Mr. Thomas's comments, let me offer some clarification. The notices that he's referring to are those courtesy notifications that are sent by our zoning department to all the registered neighborhood groups on the list. At the time of the application, as is our process, the applicant is informed that they should contact those aforementioned neighborhood organizations. That contact did not occur in a timely fashion. Therefore, I am continuing this case for 30 days so that contact can be made with the neighborhood organizations, including meaningful discussions with them. Having those discussions today is not sufficient.
Thank you, Carlos. I've got a second from Councilmember Moon. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
ZC-22-002, 6308 Willard Road from UR Urban Residential to A-21 One Family, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Is the applicant present? I want to thank you for bringing improvements to Stop 6. This is an area close to the lake, and we're making some tweaks with our rezoning that we did years ago. Now, is your dad the veteran who's 103, James Wilburn, lives on Lester Granger?
Yes, he is. 104 in November.
You got to come. Are you able to? There's a microphone up there. This is one of those legacy families of Stop 6. And so I just want to make sure your dad is James Wilburn, who attends Sweet Home.
Yes, my dad is. I'm James Wilburn also, but he's got me about 24 years, so.
Well,
I'm only 80. I'm a youngster.
I think I met you at the birthday drive-by.
A couple of years ago, I think,
yeah.
on, what was that?
At TCC on 15th.
Right.
Well, you tell him Michelle Bivens said hello. And what I'm going to do is move to approve your improvements here. You're going to have some neighbors, about 3 or 4 young people who can help with some other stuff that you can't lift. And because of your contributions, that area is going to be thriving again. And I'm just so excited about it. And so with that, council, I move for approval of ZC 22-002.
Thank you, Gina. Thank y'all for being here.
Thank you so much.
And council, please vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Motion carries.
ZC-21-234, 2100 blocks Winnetka Avenue and West I-30 Freeway 2100 through 2200 blocks of West Petersmith Street from J/DUDD, Medium Industrial Downtown Urban Design District, to PD/H/DUDD, Central Business District /DUDD overlay with brewery and distillery with 10-story height limit and site plan waived. Recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Councilmember Beck?
Move to approve.
Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
ZZ-21-232, 708 through 714, Evans, Parkdale Avenue from PD 437, PD/SU Plan Development Specific Use for Apartments for Transitional Housing for Women and Children, to UR Urban Residential, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Councilmember Nettles, we do have two speakers, but only if there's opposition. I'll turn to you.
Yes, we tried to reach out, so I need to motion to continue this case to April the 12th to give an opportunity to speak with our office.
Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion carries.
ZC-21-231, 9301 Harmon Road from AG Agriculture to E Neighborhood Commercial, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Councilmember Firestone? We do have two speakers. Our first, well, actually, they're both, only if there's opposition. I'll turn to you for any discussion.
No, I'm just going to move to approve.
Excellent. Perfect. Any other discussion?
I would like to note, though, real quickly.
Go ahead.
That I move to approve with real appreciation for the developer working with the nearby HOA to determine what would work best for this site.
Thank you, Leonard.
That was important. Thank you.
You can vote, council. Motion passes.
ZC-21-224, 9300 blocks Summer Creek Drive, to add a conditional use permit to allow for a self-service car wash in G Intensive Commercial. Site plan included, recommended for denial by the Zoning Commission.
Councilmember Williams, we do have two speakers, one if there's opposition and one that's a call, I believe. Okay. I'll turn to the caller first, Sumaya Almodi.
Sumaya?
Yes.
Please go ahead. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Good evening. This is Sumaya with Take 5 Car Wash and Driven Brands, resident of Fort Worth, 637 Samuels Ave, 67102. The Take 5 team has worked hard to address the previous concerns laid out by the council. Those are the concerns which I'd like to address now. I've sent a master plan from the developer, Street Level Investments, showing their intention for 4 restaurants that are currently in negotiation near our potential car wash site. I hope you've all been able to see the plan, but Lot 9 and 10 are intended for sit-down restaurants, Lot 8 a proposed fast food restaurant, and Lot 6 is a coffee shop. The developer is in full support of our project and has noted no deterrence to this point. Currently, there are no express car washes as far southwest as we are, which is where the growth is. And as a daily needs trade area, a car wash at this intersection really only enhances the synergy of the development. Also, we've reached out to several neighborhood HOAs, including Summer Creek South HOA, and were asked about the potential of littering and loitering. We spoke to Denise Turner, the president of this HOA, and informed her, that we have 5 to 7 employees there during operating hours who pick up stray trash, as well as signs encouraging customers to use the trash bins. And I'd like to assure the council that maintaining clean facilities is paramount to the success of our brand. and helps differentiate us from other car washes out there. We don't allow loitering on any Driven Brands sites, and the district manager will make sure this isn't an issue. We've also reached out to several other local HOAs for meetings, about 4 times each of them, and haven't received any response. Further, we've had an exciting opportunity developed. We've committed to partnering with Crowley ISD on both job and learning opportunities, such as site visits during construction, as well as discounts for students and faculty. The school is really excited about the development and what it could do for their Career and Technology Center. We have a signed letter sent by the superintendent earlier. And I know that another issue was noise control. And we worked with our civil engineers to design a berm for sound buffering on the eastern side of the project to mitigate that as well. As far as I know, those are all of the concerns that were brought to our attention. My colleague Matt Gilbert is also on the line if needed, but thank you for your time.
Thank you. I'll turn to Councilmember Williams.
Yes, I'm going to make a motion, but I also want to do a few comments before that. First of all, I really value, the input of our neighborhoods, and I also value the amazing work and relationships that we've seen between neighborhoods and our developers over the past 8 months. I'm not able to support this project for a number of reasons based on neighborhood input. One, related to traffic infrastructure. This project's only a few hundred feet away from a roundabout, and of the 7 major intersections around this property, only 1 has a traffic light. I'm also, really concerned, along with the neighbors, of potential loitering of this automated car wash, and especially with all the efforts that neighborhoods and our school district and our office has been doing to try to find safe spaces for our teens and to get them out of loitering situations, especially with all the gun violence lately in the southwest portion of Fort Worth. Also, many of you know we had a litter cleanup on Summer Creek Drive this past Saturday, and we picked up over 50 pounds of litter, and we couldn't even get halfway down Summer Creek Drive to the roundabout where this location is. So needless to say, we have another litter day with Dr. J on April 16th to finish the rest of Summer Creek and McPherson. Also, many of y'all know that the residents of District 6, particularly in this area, are very committed to the vision of retail and sit-down restaurants and casual restaurants that offer wholesome and healthy meal options for our families. And this certainly isn't high on the list. And one more thing that is high on the list is grocery store in this particular development. The other thing I take really serious is neighborhood input. And this developer told me in a meeting that they would not, that they didn't support neighborhood input. In fact, they said that if the neighborhoods want input on this project, that they could buy the property. Also, the neighborhoods that they mentioned do not support this. I have a text message on my phone from the president of Summer Creek. It's less than 200 feet from a residential property. Dr. McFarland also rescinded his letter of support, which is also in a text message on my phone. This is the kind of development that I don't think is good for our city. And I take that very seriously. I take also seriously my commitment to make strong partnerships between our city, between our developers and our neighbors to grow strong neighborhoods, and I will always be committed to that. So I'm resoundingly denying this with prejudice, and I hope to have y'all support.
Thank you, Councilmember Williams. Going to get a second, Council? Second. From Gina. Any other discussion? Please vote. Denial passes.
ZC-21-220, 4108 Moberly and 49 Miller Avenues, from E Neighborhood Commercial to CR Low Density Multifamily, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Testing. All right, here we go. So on this case, it's not a good night for District 8. But on this case here, it actually borders District 8 and District 5. And I think District 5 has established a new neighborhood association, I think it's Echo Heights, that have some concerns about this apartment complex going there. I have some concerns as well. And so I'm going to continue this case to give opportunity to speak with the council office as well as to speak with the neighborhood association. I think they have, but no resolution has been resolved.
Thank you, Chris. Can I get a second, council? April 12th. Okay.
Okay.
Motion and a second. Who was the second? Sorry, I missed it. Gina, you want to be perfect? Gina's doing it. Great. Let's move. There we go. Please vote. Motion to continue passes.
ZC-21-212, 8800 through 8900 blocks Lower Sonoma Lane from G intensive commercial to D high density multifamily, recommended for denial by the zoning commission.
And we have Steve McKeever as our speaker this evening on this item. You can, well, if you want to speak on behalf of Steve McKeever, that would be fine, but we only have one speaker on the item. Now, I will say Councilmember Firestone could ask any questions he wants to anybody this evening. It's in his district. Okay, please come to the mic. Thank you.
Okay.
Just state your name, please.
Yeah, Steve McKeever.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks for having me. Listen, they wanted to talk about the merits of their property and their project. So I'm going to have to do that really quickly, and then I've got an ask. So this is a senior community where the average age is 74. It's going to be deed restricted, which I've agreed to with all the homeowner associations, to 55 and older. Most cities see this as a real benefit as a commercial project and not a multifamily project. All the big pushback initially from the homeowner associations was that they had an issue with the traffic it would create. Well, every traffic engineer, city, municipality around the country uses the exact same data to calculate that. Their community is about half a normal apartment complex. They use shuttles to drive people around. Their traffic counts are going to be about 785 cars a day based on traffic studies they've done at multiple properties. If I'm forced to do this in a commercial project, which I'm begging not to do, we're going to be somewhere around 11,000 cars a day. And going through the education with the homeowner associations, where they were all against it, now I've got letters of support from Rusty, who is president over 60 HOAs. I've got support from Tony Perez. So there's an education process about what the traffic does to the community. And I know there's been objection letters, I think from a multifamily community or something. I'm not really sure. I've been asking to get those and I haven't seen any yet. I would like to review those. Ultimately, I'd like a continuance. So I've got time to meet with them and educate them and sit down and try to figure out what the objection by city staff is on these issues. And one of the big things is that people think that we're not going to develop commercial if we don't get multifamily. So there's a group that's been pushing us for commercial. I called them this morning and said, listen, if we get denied today, I'm moving with commercial tomorrow. So I'm happy to give this to anybody, but they submitted a letter of intent to buy the property. They're going to do somewhere around 50 or 60,000 feet of retail with a couple of pads. Just by traffic data that everybody uses, that's about 10 to 12,000 cars a day, depending on what goes there. And that's going to be built in 11 or 12 months with traffic. The project we're contemplating is not going to be built. It won't even break ground for a year. It's going to take 20 months to build and start leasing. It's not going to be there for 30 months at least, probably 35. And it's going to have 785 cars a day. So I ask you to either support it tonight or give me time to educate the people that are objecting to it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McKeever. I'll turn to Councilmember Firestone.
Just a couple quick questions. Could you share how long you've been marketing the property?
Well, we had a lot of this under contract, and then when COVID hit, everybody walked away in March of 20, I think. All the sort of communities hit the buyers, developers hit the gas pedal again in March and April. So we've been going since then. We have turned it down to commercial development because I know it's going to create a massive traffic problem. And for those of you who don't know, I own 150 acres all on the south side of North Tarrant Parkway that we're trying to turn into a mixed-use urban village. Something that's sustainable, that will attract high-end wage companies to relocate in that area. So that's important for the city, and I've got all the zoning in place for that. I'm trying to protect that project, which is the only reason I bought this 38, so I can control what goes there. So I would say we really rebooted in April or May, but we've been looking for either assisted living or some kind of senior community, and we've been totally focused on that.
And we've met on the North City project, and we thank you for it. It's going to be fantastic, and there's no doubt about that. There is concern on the multifamily. There's going to be a lot of multifamily moving in there, right? There is a 55-plus multifamily moving into that area as well, I believe, right?
Yes, sir. No,
so we do have a lot of keys moving in. I'm curious as well if whether you marketed it recently or previously, if you have talked to anyone about office in that area, in this property.
You know, but again, before COVID, our office partner, which we were going to JV those products, is Bill Cawley, one of the maybe the most prominent office developer in Dallas, and a really good guy. And he started in Fort Worth, actually, working for Rainwater, I believe. So any kind of office we did, we were going to joint venture with him. And at the moment, there's just no office demand. And anything that is there that will pay the kind of rent that will allow you to build a building and actually make a little bit of money on, they want to be on the highway with a highway sign. Anything off highway is really going for what I would say is going to be a Class B type space. We have looked at it for medical office, which I think is a really good fit there, but they've just done a new community just on the east side of 35, down North Tarrant, maybe 200 yards past the intersection. And they've been doing one building at a time there and leasing them up fairly slowly. I think they're on their last building now. So that could be a use, but we've not been able to get developers interested in that one.
Okay. You know, we did talk about that there has been, and you mentioned it tonight, the objections that have come into our office about this particular project, which, you know, we do take seriously, and we talked about that. So I'm inclined to uphold the zoning commission, what they've put forward. But if you feel like you could go back and talk to folks and ideally, honestly, if you could find a more commercial use in respect of office or medical, that would be ideal. And, you know, I'd like to see that happen. I think it's a better use.
No, I appreciate that, and I would like more time. And just in transparency, like, this is $3 a foot more than those guys can pay because of the product type. I don't want this, but this is what I'm going to be forced to do. So if you'll give me a continuance, let me see the objections so I know where it's coming from and who to go talk to. I'll go do that. I'll take the time because I know, like, somebody went to these people and said something that, you know, just isn't accurate to the facts. And as soon as they know what the options are, I think we'll get their support just like we've gotten the others.
Okay. Well, you know, my hope would be that if I uphold what the zoning commission has put forward, which is what I want to do, what I'm trying to say is that you would go back and talk to the office and medical and see if that you could find that particular development for the area. But I'm going to follow the zoning commission this evening.
Are you going to give me okay. We'll see what kind of motion you make, but
yeah, I'm making a motion to uphold what the zoning commission put forward, which is a denial. Second. Now that's the way I'd like to go tonight.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion to deny passes.
ZC-21-172, 100 through 500 blocks Beach Street from B2 family to PD/I plan development for I light industrial, removing certain uses with development standards, site plan included, recommended for denial by the zoning commission.
Councilmember Moon, we have a few speakers. Our first speaker is Bill Dahlstrom.
Madam Mayor, Council, Bill Dahlstrom, 2323 Ross Avenue. I'm here with Charles Knowlton of Scannell, simply here to respectfully request that you do approve our request to withdraw this case, and we're here to answer any questions.
Thank you, Bill.
So if I could jump in earlier, I guess today, Bill and the landowner sent a request to city staff requesting the withdrawal of the zoning case. And that was after some conversations that my office has had with Scannell, and after Scannell's willingness and regular meetings with neighborhoods. And I appreciate y'all's participation in that public process with those neighborhoods and trying to educate folks and introduce folks to the project. In the end, there just was not the community support. And so I wanted to, my motion will be, we've got a list of folks to speak. We'll let them speak. What I would like for folks to understand, and I might be using Bill's time here, but what I'd like for folks to understand and to speak to is the decision with this zoning case is either to approve a 50-acre zoning change on industrial and allow 50 acres of development. That's option A, which I've already committed we're not going to do. Option B is to deny it, and the developer can then develop 24 acres to a higher density industrial use. And then option 3 is to deny it and hope that they don't. So what I want to show with Bill is what we are losing by denying. And again, I'm not going to, I've stated from the beginning where I'm going to be on this, and that's, I always ask the neighbors to try to get to yes. And if we can't get to yes, then we'll say no if we have to. But in East Fort Worth, we have to keep our door open for development and have those conversations. And I'm going to jump into your time and to speak to some of this. What we have is in East Fort Worth. I mean, I enjoy two roles in council. One is the accounting and finance piece of the city. Can't get more exciting than general ledger entries. And then the second is development. And I've put my heart and soul, and Alicia Ortiz has as well, into deploying dollars into East Fort Worth and connecting sidewalks, into painting light poles, wrapping electrical boxes, finding $100 million in Governor Abbott's congestion relief program and getting that 820, East Loop 820 developed, a project that had been designed for 30 years, getting Broadcast Hill purchased for open space, getting federal funds for safe routes to schools at our elementary schools. We've brought development to projects in Carter Riverside, a project at Boca Raton. We're working diligently on Woodhaven Country Club. We have worked to try to do everything we can, what's right for our friends and neighbors in Carter Riverside and in East Fort Worth. And we've got a lot of good policies that came of that engagement with our neighborhoods, whether it be our camping ordinance, whether it be our pedestrian panhandling ordinance, our trailer ordinance. Those are all things, ordinances that my office introduced as a result of that community engagement with those neighborhoods. So what I don't want is folks to drive by in 2 years and see the product that's there and say that dadgum Kerry Moon got this 24-acre development industrial built for us, and the setbacks are 50 feet, and it doesn't look great. That's not the case. That's what happens when we don't approve this, okay? And this is my background. You know, I've sat on both sides of this government desk. My companies will put $50 million in development on the ground this year, mostly medical and retail. On that side of the government desk, you know, I've developed properties throughout all the counties in our area. On this side of the government desk, I've closed loopholes for developers to pay taxes. I've given neighborhoods more control with our conditional use permit that we've introduced, and done all we can to be fair on both sides of that desk for development, for our neighbors. But I want to be real clear with what we're looking at here. And what we have with this property is we have half of the site, 50 acres, that's zoned K industrial, and half that's not. We have nearby gas well. The property has been for sale for years. TRWD has purchased land between the site and Gateway Park to serve as a buffer. We have industrial properties, 2 adjacent industrial properties off of East First Street that are not part of this development that are eyesores. We have industrial development coming on the north side of East First. We have industrial development coming west of Beach. And the project is currently, the site is currently a campsite and a dump haven. What we know and where our neighbors and friends in East Fort Worth have been misled is really tied to the thought that this land would be included in a future Gateway Park acquisition. In 2009, there was a plan that was put forth between mayor and council and approved, but the landowner was not involved with that, and a portion of this property was, as well as other pieces of private property. And there's currently, Parks has sent us a letter saying there's no funds available to purchase these dollars. Doesn't mean we haven't put dollars into Gateway Park. We've put over $8 million in the last 8 years into Gateway Park from bond dollars, into improvements for apparatuses and fields. Open spaces, we know the land does not qualify for open space acquisition because the land has had some development on it. We know that we can control traffic. We see this in Fossil Ridge area with Coca-Cola distribution. We have Coca-Cola trucks coming in and out all day, and they don't get to travel through the residential streets because we restrict that traffic. That also happens with South Star on Kroger and Heritage Drive. My house sits between the closest route between South Star distribution and I-35. I don't see those trucks because we, as a city, have ordinances in place to make those trucks take the long way around for their routing. This is probably the largest development in East Fort Worth. You'll see this development extensively traveling from Everman Parkway to Eagle Parkway along I-35. This project will pay $1 million a year to our school. It's integrated development. There's regularly a buffer between residential and arterials. And prior zoning has always allowed for neighborhood commercial to fill those gaps. That's the Starbucks and the grocers and the commercial and the retail that we like. We can't build enough of that. We don't have enough uses to fill all that vacant land. These particular uses help fill that, and you'll see that along Basswood, Golden Triangle, those areas. There's been a push to do council-initiated zoning. No one's done more council-initiated zoning in the last 7 years than me. I've changed over 15 properties for multifamily. I didn't change 2. I could not change 2 because the landowner is a private property state, and the landowner could show that they had development in place to hold the development that was in place, the zoning that was in place. That would be the same with this. We cannot do a council-initiated zoning to change the zoning for this property. spec. There's some concern about us being a speculative investment. That's the world that we're in right now. Everybody wants to come to Fort Worth. We saw an article 2 months ago about Hillwood building a 1 million square foot industrial warehouse that they did not have a tenant for. And it's filled up now. This particular group, this is not a mom and pop developer like me. Little leagues, I've got to have a tenant. They don't. They are funded by large investment funds. They can purchase this. They can purchase property around it. They can make it look nice. But in the end, it being a speculative investment is not a deterrent for them, and it should not be a consideration for us, as that's part of the nature we're in right now because everybody wants to come to Fort Worth. And then the overall use, it's a little bit of a different, less intense development because it includes some office space as opposed to a full-scale Amazon distribution center that you would typically see. So with that, I would just ask Bill to pull up the site plan.
I'm going to ask Charles.
Okay.
Thank you, Kerry. My name's Charles Knowlton, by the way. Thanks for the opportunity to come up here and present.
We have a PowerPoint. Oh. Do you have a copy of the site plan? That one right here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I just have my computer.
Okay.
I'll bring this up there too.
I'll use this.
I'll bring that up.
Turn it the other way. Well, never mind. I guess that's, do they see?
So
put north at the top of the page.
If you turn it perpendicular. So this is north and south. I-30 is to the south of that blue detention pond, and I-121 is to the north. These are 3 single-load light distribution buildings. All the office and glazings in the front of the building, where the auto parking is, all the truck court loading and unloadings in the rear of the building facing the floodplain. These carry significantly less traffic than your traditional industrial buildings with docks on both sides of the building. It's more of a shallow bay, higher office finish out, higher dollar per foot building. So they're 36 feet tall. The one to the north is 32 feet tall. Till wall, Class A, generally bought by pension funds.
And then what's to the north?
I think the
Pull it down just a little bit, Melissa. Scoot it down on the page. Other way.
Other way. No, down. There you go.
There you go.
that's East First Street to the north.
So in the corner, there's industrial, and then east, there is industrial.
That's right. The southern half is zoned, and also the northwest corner is zoned. There's a lot of industrial, light industrial, commercial, and a couple of residential zoning in that northwest pocket that is not included in our purchase. But there's zoning on 2 different parts of the site.
And then what's your setback off of beach?
We have 250 feet
250 feet.
from beach.
And if you go build 24 acres of K industrial, more intensive use, what is your setback?
I believe it's 25 feet.
25 feet. Okay. Okay, all right. Thank you.
I didn't know if the. Just wanted to show what the park is building. Thank you for the time and
Appreciate y'all's engagement and your willingness to meet with the homeowners, so thank y'all.
Again, our request is to request approval of our request to withdraw.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill. Our next speaker is Cindy Bowling.
Thank you, Council Mayor. Mr. Moon, if you do not intend to accept the withdrawal by the developer, then I'm asking for a 30-day extension because all of our speakers didn't come tonight understanding this is going to be withdrawn.
Sounds like he's going to accept the withdrawal.
Okay, good, all right. Then that's what I'm good otherwise.
Thank you, Cindy. Rick Herring's our next speaker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, city staff. I'm Rick Herring, 1801 Bolton, moderator for the Riverside Alliance, and wow, I'm just astonished. We were notified this morning that the case was being withdrawn from consideration by the applicant. At 5:34 this evening, I received a message from Charles Knowlton, who just stood up here, telling us they were withdrawing the case. Melissa Bruner in the city secretary's office called me and all the other speakers that had signed up to see if we wanted to speak since the case was going to be withdrawn. I said, yes, I want to speak because I have remarks prepared to thank all the people for the good process we've gone through and that we've come to this place where they recognized that this may not be the best project for this site. So I don't even know what to say. So bear with me. We came here not expecting to debate the merits of the case because we could debate the merits of the case. We had 50 some odd people that were coming tonight. We had several, 5 or 6, I don't know, people to speak on specific points and not repeat ourselves and not bore you to death because you've received countless emails and communications about this. What I saw in the last 3 minutes is totally different than what I expected to see tonight. All of our speakers and attendees decided not to come because we don't want to waste your time. They said, Rick, go tell them thank you for, So I'll just say, I don't even know what to say except on behalf of the Riverside Alliance and our 7 member neighborhood associations, West Meadowbrook Neighborhood Association, Central Meadowbrook, and many other organizations and citizens that have been involved in this case. We wanted to thank Scannell for working with us. They've been forthcoming. We've met with them 4 times. We can never get to a place of agreement, but they've been good folks. Charles Knowlton, who's here, Chris Arviso is not here. They were good to work with. The Frost family for recognizing that this particular development may not have been the best project for this property that they've taken care of for almost a century. We appreciate them recognizing that. I was going to say thank you to Councilman Moon for supporting his constituents from Riverside and East Fort Worth, even when he didn't agree with this. I think he's still going to do that, but we didn't expect to be blindsided and talk about the case tonight since it was going to be withdrawn. Thanks to Mayor Parker and you all for listening to us. You all have. And last but in no way least, thank you to the scores of citizens, including, excuse me, those who are here tonight, just a handful. Dan Hayes, Cindy Bowling, you just heard from Shannon Scanlon, Beth Ellis, lots of volunteers, the leadership of Streams and Valleys, Scenic Fort Worth, and the hundreds and hundreds of hours we have all spent on this zoning case since last September. It's been a long freaking 7 months.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Councilmember Bivens.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to thank those of you who came tonight. And what has happened here this evening just reiterates my position. When staff gets involved and calls you and says, don't come, it's going to be pulled. That's happened before. I don't like that. And people in District 5 know, I tell you guys, it's not over till it's over. And so even though I understand my colleague is going to take the action you want, it still caught you off guard. And when I tell people in District 5, I don't care if it's printed, show up. Thank you, Cindy. So those are my comments. Yeah. I don't like those calls. Don't like them.
Thank you, Gina. Councilmember Moon?
Yeah, so this is why I wasn't good in retail. I always did what the customer wanted, but I never gave it away with a smile. And so I made it clear from the beginning that I would always go with the neighbors, and that's what I'm doing. My goal with this is to make sure that you understand in a year and a half, when you see that industrial distribution center built 25 feet from beach, that is not my zoning decision, all right? And that's the point I want to make clear, all right? Everything else of that, we want to follow the same of the neighborhoods, that the neighbors that live, work, and play in that area, and do what we can to keep our door open for development in East Fort Worth. And with that, the motion I will make is to accept the withdrawal of the applicant's request to withdraw the zoning case.
And a second from Councilmember Bivens. Any other discussion, council? Thank you. Please vote.
ZC-21-148, 5220 East Lancaster Avenue from E Neighborhood Commercial to PD Planned Development with a base of C medium-density multifamily excluding boarding and lodging house and government office facility with development standards for open space, front yard setback, building orientation, and landscaping revision. Site plan included, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
Our first speaker is Mary Nell Poole. There is 2 opposition, yes.
Good evening, Council. My name is Mary Nell Poole, Town Site 2918 Wingate here in Fort Worth. This property is not within a neighborhood association, so I have been working with the 5 neighborhood associations that make up the neighborhoods of East Fort Worth, with Central Meadowbrook being the most adjacent neighborhood association. Though some groups don't want to see any more apartments on the east side, I think it's clear with residential use on 3 sides of the property that commercial is not the best use for this property. As you can see from the site plan, this is an irregular site. With the site constraints and requests from the neighborhood association, we are proposing a PD with C zoning as the base category with 4 variances. When we first presented the site plan to the neighborhood association, it was a 3-story building. Since the site is so deep, the neighborhood asked us to consider 2 buildings that would only be 2-story buildings, so that it was more appropriate to the size of the site and there would be more eyes on the property. However, with this plan, it offers less open space, and so we're asking for a minimum open space of 22%. In order to provide a consistent building rhythm along East Lancaster, we have aligned the front building with the adjacent apartment building. Since the street runs on a diagonal, we're requesting a variable front yard setback of 10 feet, 4 inches at the top eastern border, and running with the street to the width of approximately 31 feet. C zoning requires the longest side of a building to face a public street. Since our site is only 100 feet wide, we're unable to meet that criteria. The ordinance calls for a building not able to meet the requirement to have the same facade design as the long side. We will be meeting that criteria. The neighborhood also asked that we add more trees to the site than required. We're asking to allow us to meet 5 of the required 20 landscape points by adding 5 additional trees over the required number in the ordinance in lieu of other outline points. We've also added language in our PD clause to allow the neighborhood association to approve the final design, paint colors, monument sign, existing lighting, and final landscape plan before we file for a building permit. I want to thank the neighborhood association groups for working with us, and I would ask for your approval tonight. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Mary Nell. Our next speaker is Judy Taylor.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'm Judy Taylor, 2604 Stark Street. I'm president of Neighborhood Association, the Hanley Neighborhood Association. We ask that you deny this program. We do not see that it fits the city's comprehensive future land use plan for East Lancaster. We find that though we have met with them many times, they've made promises that have not come to pass. There is, their PD only. They only want to file PD requirements, nothing special. There will be no amenities on the property, no outdoor amenities whatsoever, no community space. They have shown many designs and have not yet decided on what they're actually going to do. They're below green space minimum on this property. They barely meet the minimum of the parking. There is no ADA access to the property or parking. It's dangerous in that there is only stairs on one end of the property for fire or any sort of commotion that would be dangerous. The entrance and the exit are the only one. It's very minimal in spacing, and in case of a tragedy, would be absolutely trapped within a fenced-in project. There are 4 other apartment complexes in the area. Our neighborhoods in East Fort Worth have experienced in the past conglomeration of apartments making problems. There's no grocery store or any shopping available in the area. The bus route would require several transportation transfers to get to there. Most likely, if you left home in the morning, you would not get home tonight because of busing problems. There's no schools within walking distance. The proposed use of this is not in the highest and best use for the property. The physical restrictions of the property create a cramped and overcrowded feel. This combined the lack of an open space and 0 to side amenities. Thank you for counsel. We appreciate your attention.
Thank you, Judy.
Yes, and I would love to invite council to come to Hanley on March the 19th for a program by our children at our Meadowbrook Neighborhood Library. And we're also having a craft fair at our caboose on March the 26th. Love to see you all in Hanley.
Thank you, Judy. Our next speaker is Bob Willoughby. Is Bob still here? No? That's the last of our speakers. I'll turn to Mayor Pro Tem Bivens.
Thank you. This case is one that has been quite troubling, and we've been able to create some time just because of personal matters, from Mary Nell. But one thing we know on Lancaster, between District 5 and District 8, is we've seen a lot of bad multifamily. In some cases, it's like putting a lipstick on a pig, where we were told years ago, one complex, that we could rehab. And we've just seen too many bad things. I would rather see the guarantees, Marinelle, that you mentioned, before you do a building permit, you wouldn't file that until you got their approval. I would rather see that on the front end. It's just too traumatic for us. It really is. When you go down Tyranny, you see people hanging out the windows of an apartment complex. When you get to Lancaster, whether you go east or west, we just see bad stuff. And so we're just kind of shell-shocked. What I would like to see happen, you heard, and when you say there's no neighborhood association there, Judy lives within walking distance of that site. Maybe not a fast walk, but it's still walking distance. What I want to do, and I think this is really critical for the success of your project, I need you to schedule some time with Judy. Even Cindy, I know, would be willing to, because Cindy has her hands full with one of those other bad projects that we're stuck with. I need you to address each one of their concerns and see if you can't get some type of resolution. I've known Judy and Cindy to be very, very accommodating, but we just don't have a trust factor right now from anybody. I don't care who it is. And so with that, I'm going to move to continue this case until April 12th. But it's on you to get on their calendars to see what it's going to take, if anything, to get this project through. But trust me, we don't need no more bad. No more bad. So with that, I move to continue until April 12th.
Second.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you,
And
Judy. I'm
And
so
Judy's
sorry.
going to give you the names of other associations and their meetings.
We've already had 5 meetings.
Perfect.
Just one more.
Thank
One
you.
more.
I've got a motion and a second from somebody. Sorry, who was it? Thank you, Chris. Any other discussion, council? Please vote.
Thank you. One more time, Judy.
Motion passes. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. I'm so sorry. Thank you, Ms. Taylor. Okay.
ZC-21-118, 5653 West Creek Drive, from E Neighborhood Commercial to PD Plan Development with a base of E Neighborhood Commercial for auto repair and outside storage with specific development standards. Site plan included, recommended for denial with prejudice by the Zoning Commission.
I've got a speaker, Mohammed Alwam. Mohammed here.
Good evening, all. Actually, my name is Mo Hindawi, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Mr. Muhammad Alwan, who's going to be my boss, as well as the owner of the business Foreign and Domestic Auto Tech, which is on the 5653 West Creek Drive on 76133. The whole dilemma started last July, and we came up with a decision on September to go ahead and expand the business a little bit, to add another 2 bays to the building as a muffler shop as well as alignment, because there's no alignment shops around that sectors at all. And we came to the city, asked what we have to do. They gave us a list of a few things to do, and we complied with the city with everything till the first meeting with the city in January. We met with all the requirements and they agreed to it. But something was missing that time that we don't know about the neighborhood association. So they asked us to go and be in contact. And we are so lucky that we are on a border for 2 different associations. Of course, we recommended to have the way to contact them. We got a phone number for one and a website for the other. We tried to contact the first one, and they show up one time and they give us few items how to handle or clean up the whole site, which we did. After that, I tried so many times, since I'm the one who's going with the process, tried to contact with them with no success. The other one, I guess they meet once every 2 months, and I don't have any response from their side. I sent them like 3 different emails, and I sent all my communication, all my correspondence to the city engineer or the officer who was in charge of the case. Until now, we didn't get to anything. So I don't know. Last time we didn't show up because Mr. Awan was busy with one of his friends who was sick, and unfortunately he passed last Monday, his funeral this Friday. So I'm here, the one who's gonna be involved with the whole situation. I need guidance. I wanna see where we're standing, what we're gonna do. That's all my request.
Thank you, sir. Dr. Williams?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. we've received a lot of input from the neighborhoods of Wedgewood on this one. To be honest, the current use is also automotive, and it's completely inconsistent for the area. I mean, there are 3 neighbors or 3 single-family homes and 2 schools across the street. I don't know how the current use was even in place, and I certainly hear the concerns of our residents for the proposed use. So with that, I'm going to deny with prejudice.
Second.
Any other discussion, council? Please vote. Motion to deny passes. And council, we're going to reconsider zoning case 21-232, if I got that correct, in Councilmember Nettles' district. So I'll turn to Councilmember Nettles for reconsideration.
Thank you, Mayor. I did have opportunity to look at a prior email and get information on a prior meeting for this zoning case. So with that, I want to reconsider.
So we're going to make, sorry to interrupt you, Chris. Let's make a motion to reconsider the case. We'll get a second, do it first, and then we'll go back and vote. So do that motion first. Motion to reconsider.
Let me get the zoning case.
It's 232.
Motion to reconsider zoning case 232.
Perfect. For clarification, it's zoning case 21-232. Is that correct, Letitia? Yes. Excellent. We've got a motion and a second. Please vote, council. Okay.
Jared.
Now you can vote for reconsideration. Motion carries. Now you can go, Chris. Make a motion to proceed.
Motion to approve.
Thank you. Motion and a second. Please vote.
Thank you, council.
Motion carries. There we will.
SP-21-2029, 1251 Little Sienna Lane from PD 1134, planned development for all uses in G intensive commercial plus hotel. Site plan approved to amend hotel site plan to modify building orientation, increase building area and number of guest rooms, and modify parking layout for PD 1134, recommended for approval by the Zoning Commission.
We've got one speaker, but only if there's opposition, and there is none.
Is the applicant present? No. Well, if anybody sees the applicant, tell them we say thank you. And with that, I move for approval.
Got a motion and a second, council. Please vote. Motion carries.
MMC 22-0141, adopt ordinances adopting and amending the 2021 editions of the International Building Code, International Residential Code, International Mechanical Code, International Plumbing Code, International Fuel Gas Code, International Existing Building Code, and the Fort Worth Building Administrative Code, and adopt ordinance adopting and amending the 2021 International Fire Code.
We've got a motion from Councilmember Beck
Move to approve.
and a second.
Second.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
MMC 22-0146, adopt attached ordinance authorizing issuance and sale of City of Fort Worth Tax Notes Series 2022, and enacting other provisions related to the subject, and adopt attached appropriation ordinance.
Thank you. I'd like to call on Alex Lawfer, our City of Fort Worth Debt Manager, who's going to present some information tonight. Thanks, Alex.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Alex Lawfer, Debt Manager in the Financial Management Services Department, and I am here to provide updated information for consideration in connection with MNC 22-0146. The city accepted bids this morning for the issuance and sale of tax notes for fire apparatus and work at future City Hall. Following evaluation of the 8 compliant bids the city received, staff and the financial advisors recommend the sale be awarded to Webster Bank National Association at a true interest cost, or TIC, of 1.73%. Because the cost of issuance will be lower than anticipated, the city is able to reduce the principal amount of the notes being issued from $72,195,000 to $72,185,000. Staff recommends that mayor and council approve the M&C with the following changes. 1, fill the blanks in to reflect the identified purchaser and TIC. 2, change the estimated closing date in the discussion from April 6th to March 29th, 2022. 3, update the ordinance and purchase agreement attachments to match those that were distributed by staff earlier today. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. I'll turn to Councilmember Move for a motion.
I move to approve M&C 22-0146 with the changes outlined by staff.
Got a motion and a second. Thank you, Gina. Any other discussion? Please vote.
One more. 2 more.
Will somebody abstain for Michael or hit whatever? Thank you. Motion passes.
MMC 22-0168, adopt an ordinance amending the service rate for the out-of-cycle and contaminated bulky waste pile in Chapter 12.5, Environmental Protection and Compliance, Article 8, Solid Waste and Recycling, Division 4, Deposits, Rates, and Collection, Section 12.5-841.1, Residential Collection Fees.
Thank you. We have one speaker, Thomas Torlin-Kasi. We're doing 6-7. Oh, I think we may have read the wrong entry there.
Yep, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just trying to end.
We're on the
meeting.
correct item, Thomas. We're just going to reread that into the record.
Okay. MMC 22-0167, adopt an ordinance amending Chapter 12.5, Environmental Protection and Compliance, Article 8, Solid Waste and Recycling, Division 4, Deposits, Rates, Collection, and Section 12.5-841.2 of the City Code to increase the commercial garbage collection fees.
Thank you. Our speaker is Thomas Torlin-Kasi.
Mayor Parker, council members, ironically, the suggestion I have, this is one of those moments where a speaker comes up and offers help, applies to both 167 and 168. It should make the most liberal member of the city council and the most conservative member equally happy. It's been 18 years since these bulk rates have been raised. And the truth is that 18 years ago, if the city had been innovative and forward-looking enough, they could have integrated what's called recirculating fluidized bed technology and turned this into a profit center. Now, Waste Management and some of your other bulk waste contractors won't tell you this, but they do this in multiple municipalities across the country, especially on the West Coast. Imagine if you could extend landfill life by 20 to 40% and divert, especially construction and demolition waste in a growing city like ours, to generate electricity. The beauty of this technology is it's not like a coal burner. It's so clean that it's permitted in California in 30 locations and in Oregon in 4. You might not have heard about it, but this would generate 30 to 60 megawatts of electricity a year to supplement and maybe be dedicated to critical electrical needs. And one of the best parts about Fort Worth considering it is its fallback energy is natural gas. It is the most forgiving incinerator and burner in the world. It can burn creosote-soaked railroad ties safely, telephone poles, construction and demolition waste, ag waste, lumber cullings and clearings, amongst a number of other things successfully. It is not brand new technology, but it's a lot newer than anything that you've heard of before. The truth is that your waste handlers aren't going to tell you about it because it's more streamlined and efficient for them to handle all of the yardage and take it to one site or divide a small token amount of the most toxic or nasty stuff. But the reality is that our city generates enough tonnage to power nearly 2,000 homes a day. I want you to just put that on your radar and consider that this city could be hitting a home run like cities across California and Oregon are, and a multitude of South American and European countries where they don't just bury everything, but consider the alternative.
Thank you, Thomas. That's the last of our speakers, council. Got a motion and a second?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Elizabeth.
Second.
Any other discussion? Please vote. Motion carries.
MMC 22-0168, adopt an ordinance amending the service rate for the out-of-cycle and contaminated bulky waste pile in Chapter 12.5, Environmental Protection and Compliance, Article 8, Solid Waste and Recycling, Division 4, Deposits, Rates, and Collections, Section 12.5-841.1, Residential Collection Fees.
Got a motion and a second, council? Motion from Councilmember Crane. Perfect. Thank you, Carlos. Okay, great. Any other discussion?
Oh, wait. Let's argue about it.
We can vote.
Yes. No.
Leonard, Chris, there we go. That's okay. Motion passes.
Mayor, that was the last item.
Thank you very much, and it looks like we can adjourn. Thank you, council. So tired.
Empowers others by sharing what she knows. For example, she recently tutored senior citizens on how to do Zoom meetings during COVID. Leadership skills honed at the neighborhood level have led Brenda to other community involvement with the Tarrant County Black Historical and Genealogical Society, the city's first African American Museum Steering Committee, reading